The wildest thing about the MonsterVerse right now is that we're way past the point where this franchise feels like a gamble. A few years ago, nobody expected a shared universe built around giant prehistoric gods to turn into a multi-billion-dollar juggernaut, yet here we are. The new empire blew past expectations, the fandom's bigger than ever, and suddenly Warner Brothers and Legendary have a universe that refuses to slow down. Every time it looks like the MonsterVerse has reached its ceiling, it jumps to an even bigger scale. And now, with Supernova on the horizon, the whole thing is about to take a hard turn into pure cosmic insanity. The excitement didn't just come out of nowhere. The producers have been talking for years about how much potential is still untouched in this world. Producer Mary Parent has been one of the loudest voices pushing for expansion, always saying that if you're spending blockbuster money, you might as well go huge. And honestly, she's not wrong. When these movies go big, audiences show up. Even the Apple series managed to push the lore forward and introduce new sides of Monarch that the films didn't have room for. Season 2 is reportedly diving even deeper into Hollow Earth mythology and hinting at titans we haven't even seen yet. That alone tells you the MonsterVerse is only setting the stage, not wrapping up anything. But no matter how many side stories we get, everything is steering toward one gigantic centerpiece: Godzilla x Kong Supernova. Instead of circling around Hollow Earth again, the next movie is shooting the MonsterVerse straight into outer space. And if you grew up on Toho classics, you already know that's where things get really wild. Space is where the Godzilla mythology gets cosmic, weird, and genuinely mythic. Some of the most iconic kaiju of all time came from the stars, and the MonsterVerse has barely scratched the surface of that side of the lore. The moment they introduce Space Godzilla, and yeah, every rumor points to him being the big bad, the entire tone of this universe shifts. It's a door you can't close once it's open. Supernova isn't just another crossover either. From the start, Legendary wanted the Godzilla Kong team up to function like a trilogy, and with this one landing in 2027, that arc finally hits its third chapter. The new empire leaned heavily toward Kong's perspective, giving him an emotional journey, a surrogate son in Suko, and a full new status quo in Hollow Earth. Godzilla had his own evolution too, pushing even further into that guardian protector role King of the Monsters set up. Fans have been calling that direction Godzilla's redemption arc, a nickname that comes from Michael Dougherty himself hinting he once had a third solo Godzilla movie drafted with that exact theme. That script was supposed to pick up after 2019 and solidify Godzilla as Earth's ultimate protector, and in a way, the franchise has slowly drifted toward that exact storyline anyway. Once Supernova drops, the natural next step is obvious. Both titans get their own movies again. Kong already has a clear path forward after everything that went down with his people, his throne, and the new generation he's responsible for. Godzilla's path is even more loaded, especially after a cosmic threat, and with all signs pointing towards Supernova being massive but not a final chapter, the runway for Godzilla 3 is wide open. Even the trademark Legendary, filed back in 2023, Destroy All Monsters, feels like the kind of title you don't reserve unless you're planning something big. If they actually use that title, the MonsterVerse version writes itself. The original 1968 film threw every major kaiju into one insane battle royale, but the modern take could push things to an even bigger scale. Imagine Earth barely surviving the events of Supernova, cities in ruins, and humanity losing whatever optimism they had about coexisting with Titans. The same creatures that saved the world now look like walking reminders of total annihilation. In desperation, global powers could create a new coalition, something like a United Earth Council working alongside Monarch, and decide to forcibly remove Titans from the planet. And because this universe now has alien technology laying around thanks to the whole Titans invasion, it wouldn't be hard to imagine a giant Titan containment project on the lunar surface or even orbital stations. That's exactly where everything flips. Just like the original movie used the Killax to mind control the monsters, the MonsterVerse could reinterpret that idea as a sinister intelligence lurking in deep space, maybe even something tied to the same cosmic corruption that created Space Godzilla or something. One by one, the captured Titans fall under someone else's influence, turning a desperate containment plan into a global disaster. Godzilla, recovering from the cosmic war, ends up as the last free Alpha Titan. Humanity, realizing they can't stop what they started, turns back to him as their one real hope. That sets the stage for a true kaiju war. Godzilla, Kong, Mothra, and whatever Titan survived Supernova would need to stand together, not just for Earth, but for their place in its future. And from a thematic point of view, it wraps the whole franchise in a pretty epic arc. Humanity tries to control nature, gets burned, learns nothing, tries again, and only narrowly survives because the very beings they feared choose to fight for them anyway. And while that cosmic war is brewing on one side of the franchise, another threat has been looming for years. If you're looking for the next major villain, every sign points to Destoroyah. His entire existence is rooted in one of the darkest pieces of Godzilla lore: the Oxygen Destroyer. Destoroyah isn't just a monster. He's the literal consequence of humanity unleashing a super weapon it couldn't control. If Supernova ends with a planet-wide energy surge or any kind of cosmic fallout, which is almost guaranteed, the setup for Destoroyah practically writes itself. He's the kind of villain who demands a movie like Destroy All Monsters to unleash his full horror. Now picture how a Godzilla movie could open in that era. Strange biological anomalies start appearing in oceans and coastal cities, people report bizarre red-tinted swarms in the water, and Monarch realizes too late that a mutation they accidentally triggered decades ago is finally taking shape. Godzilla rises again with a very different energy. Not the unstoppable destroyer from 2014, not the triumphant king from King of the Monsters, but something older and more elemental. A guardian who understands exactly what kind of extinction-level threat is coming. All of this lines up perfectly with what the Monsterverse has been teasing since day one. The ancient Titan War, civilizations that worshipped or feared these creatures, the deeper origins of Godzilla's species, and why he responds to disasters with such precision. A true Godzilla-centered epic exploring those mysteries could easily become the saga's heart, the film people point to years later as the defining chapter. Imagine a movie that finally explains why Godzilla is the alpha, why his power is tied to the planet itself, and how his species fits into a cosmic lineage going back millions of years. And the best part is that the hype isn't coming from wishful thinking. The franchise is financially unstoppable. With well over $2 billion earned and no real signs of fatigue, the Monsterverse has become one of the safest bets in blockbuster filmmaking. Even a mid-tier box office run for Supernova, something around 600 million, would still count as a win. And let's be real, movies with Godzilla and Kong don't flop unless something goes catastrophically wrong. Supernova lands in March 2027, and once it does, the entire conversation around the Monsterverse is going to shift overnight. You're going to see studios, fans, and the press treating the cosmic side of the lore as the new normal. The trilogy of crossovers will be complete, but the universe will feel bigger than ever. Godzilla 3 becomes the obvious next announcement, Kong gets another chapter in Hollow Earth, Monarch expands the lore on TV, and suddenly we're looking at a fully formed second era of the Monsterverse. Larger, weirder, more cosmic, and way more ambitious than anything the first phase ever attempted. If Legendary really embraces that direction, the next decade of the Monsterverse could become the peak of kaiju cinema in Hollywood. Titans in space, alien invasions, ancient wars, cosmic gods, and Godzilla stepping into the role he was always meant for. The last line of defense in a universe that keeps getting bigger and more dangerous. And honestly, for fans like us, that's exactly what we've been waiting for.